My name is Elizabeth Maloba, and I'm an international cooperation advisor. I've been doing that for at least 15 years, and before that, I was still also consulting. So I've been consulting for over 20 years. And I have a lot of experience working at different levels, grassroots level, global level, linking the two levels as well. And I came to the STG because of a couple of reasons combined. One of them was I had been doing this for over 20 years, and I kind of needed to take a pause, reflect, look back, see what's there and what's going forward. And the second was I had noticed a lot of trends in my work, especially trends towards collaboration, cross-sectoral collaboration, trends towards inclusion of marginalized voices, of grassroots voices. And these were creating some changes in how we were working, the way the state works, the way supranational bodies work at transnational level. And so I came with a question of what's the impact of these changes, these trends on transnational governance? Is it going to change things? Will we get a bit more democratic at transnational governance level? More inclusive? I mean, these are the questions that the Global South keeps fighting for. We want more inclusion, we want more diversity, we want more democracy. And I was just wondering if these trends that are happening on the ground would be able to contribute to this kind of transformation. I think I remember my first conversation when I got here was with a professor from the School of Political Science, SPS. Not quite sure whether it's political science or But my first conversation was with someone from there, and we were just having a conversation. He showed me transnational governance. I said, yes. She said, all of it. And I think this was the moment I realized that transnational governance is a huge domain. It's not a small, I think all through when I was working in the field and so on, it's very easy to focus and just say the United Nations agencies, sometimes a bit of, what's the European Union doing within that? What's the African Union doing within that? But you don't think about it like how big is the concept of transnational governance. So I think the reality of what I was looking at suddenly hit me, that it was a very big topic. And I've spent my time here researching. So one of the great things here is that there's a great library and we have access to it. In my context before, if I wanted a book, I had to buy it. Even if it was 200 euros, I had to buy it. Here, at least I can access it on the library. So I've done quite a bit of reading. I've also had quite interesting interactions and discussions with PhD students working in international relations, in global security. Very interesting conversations on ad hoc governance structures at transnational level, because these seem to be taking more and more responsibility for decision making. Of course, then there's the work with the other fellows collaborating on the SDG talks, which was also in its own way insightful. You learn different things. I think I learned a lot about indices, for example. I'm not really normally a numbers person, but now, good to know that I should be looking. Are there any indices that measure this, and how can I look at them? We had a deep discussion about how do you measure transformation. If we're working towards transformation, how do you measure transformation? So the monitoring and evaluation day, for example, was a great dialogue around that, and what are the different new ways emerging to measure transformation, especially now that I'm talking about diversity, inclusion, social transformation. These are not things you measure in the way that previous things were measured. So we haven't yet figured out how the measuring is going to go. So I think I spent a lot of my time in exchanges, in dialogue processes, in of course, preparing and delivering talks. Some highlights included the State of the Union, and moderating the panel at the State of the Union was also quite eye-opening. First of all, it goes very fast. So learning also about the different formats and how to communicate in different settings. How do you communicate in conversations such as this versus how do you communicate when you have only 2 minutes to make your key points? I'm kind of like what are my next steps? They are still emerging, but I guess I'm getting used to taking life a few steps at a go. Um, one, I heard this somewhere when I was here, but it stayed with me. It's this quote by Gramsci, the quote about the old world is dying, the new world is struggling to be born, and we are in the time of monsters. And genuinely, I feel this highly reflects our current situation globally, especially on transnational governance and on several issues. Whether it's climate change we're talking about or energy security we're talking about. We're still in this space where we had a world order, we're moving to the next one, but we don't know what's in between. And in this space, we need to figure out our path and to guide our way towards it. And so I know that my next steps are going to be more in that area, trying to work a lot more in international relations at supporting the transformation towards, because I mean, in this sense, then it can go in a positive way. Or so if you do the foresight stuff, you can have preferred destination, and then you can have alternatives, and some of them are not very pleasant. So I'd like to spend the next few years working towards steering, within this time of monsters, steering towards a positive outcome at the end. Let's arrive at a good outcome. Let's arrive at a place where we're happy and comfortable with. I don't know if we get there, but I mean, we're facing challenges like climate change, where we say we want to try and stay below, 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming, and then we're still on track for more than 2 degrees Celsius right now, which is a problem, because if we get beyond 4 degrees Celsius, then we really face challenges that on a scale that we haven't thought about how to handle yet. It's not the only area, so we have so many global challenges that I could think of that we need to address, and that we need to address collaboratively. And so I really would like to find a space where I'm supporting the collaborative addressing of this kind of problems. One big thing that I didn't mention that is very important, and I would tell the incoming fellows, is recognize the power of place in what you're doing. I like to call it the power of place. And the power of place in this case, we're in Florence. Florence is the city that has had the history of being both a democracy and principality. Understanding those dynamics of how they went between democracy and being ruled by a duke, therefore a principality, and what happens in that environment is an interesting dynamic and can really inform us. Because I think in those times, Florence was kind of in the times that we are in. The old was dying, the new was not yet born properly. How do we figure out where to put our feet and go forwards? This I think is important. The other thing that with Florence is also just the Renaissance and if you look at what we all know about the Renaissance is all the beautiful art, all the beautiful architecture, but it didn't happen because these people were working as individuals. This is something I always point out and say, okay, we know Da Vinci, we know Caravaggio, we know, I don't know, but we don't think that these guys actually were not working as individuals. They knew each other, they were friends, they interacted with each other. They had, if you're in Florence, you see studio there, so they had studios. And studio means there was a group of people, they were exchanging, and in the process of exchanging and working alongside each other, sometimes competing with each other, they improved themselves, but they also came up with all the interesting things. I think one of the tours I did, I was told Brunelleschi, when he presented the proposal for the dome, they appointed Ghiberti to supervise the construction. So it was Brunelleschi's idea, but Ghiberti was supervising it. They were not friends, they were competitors for this project. It's a way to make you understand that you do need other people who are probably as bright as you, as sharp as you, working on different issues, sometimes similar issues with you. As you exchange, you get stronger and sharper in your own issues. I had the good fortune to be in a very good cohort with a lot of people with diverse interests, but also with a lot of experience. And we were able to share experiences, interests, challenge each other in our presentations and in our thinking. Um, there are areas like decoloniality, gender inclusion, which I've kind of engaged with before, but not so deeply. And now I leave with a much better understanding because there were fellows working on them and we talked a lot about them. I hope that they leave with a better understanding of, for example, Africa or some of the issues I'm working on, like social transformation. And so in the process, we exchange with each other. The word is cross-pollinate each other's ideas, I hope. And in the end, we end up with something stronger and more beautiful.